Dear friends of Lucerne Festival, I'm so happy to welcome Esa-Pekka Salonen, the renowned Finnish composer and conductor, artist, musician, human being, and a close friend since many years. And I must say, welcome Esa-Pekka, and I'm incredibly looking forward to the world premiere of your Horn Concerto here in Lucerne on August 30th. And I start with a very simple question. What are we to expect on August 30th with your new Horn Concerto?
Well, the English have this saying that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I only know it as a theory, and I know it also through a MIDI simulation that computers can do these days, which can give you some kind of an idea of what the physical reality is going to be, but it's never the same, nowhere near, because the difference between computers and humans is still massive. And also you have an orchestra, in this case about 60 players, and you have a soloist, and there's no way to predict how these individuals sound together. I mean, I know from experience pretty much how it's going to sound, but there are always surprises and so on. But if I should describe the piece briefly, I would say I set out to write a Horn Concerto in the great line of horn concertos I had been practicing in my childhood and my youth, and music that I still remember very well. So my wish is that it would somehow become part of that great legacy, and also become something that horn players would take up around the world and keep alive. That would be the best case scenario. It's got the solo part is horrendously difficult. I thought I don't.
By the way, I tried to call Stefan Dohr and ask him how the Horn Concerto is, and he hasn't called back. So he's probably practicing.
That's either a good sign or a very bad sign. But I hope he's kind of meditating and enjoying what he's doing. I thought I would really push the horn to its physical and technical limits. Why? Mainly because of the soloist. Stefan Dohr is like one of the most monumental horn players in the world. Today, universally respected and admired, and like a living legend. Also, he has a great legacy of commissioning new work and performing contemporary compositions and so on. So, in a way, there is a man, virtuoso player, who knows no limits. So I thought, okay, I'll give him something to do. But on the other hand, because of my past as a horn player, I do respect the playability as an aspect. I didn't want to go against the nature of the horn, pushing the limits, yeah, but not. I wanted to keep the soul of the horn, the kind of strong connection with the German Romantic music and like late Romantic music, Strauss, Mahler, Bruckner, Wagner, all that, Mozart, of course, earlier, and so on. So I wanted to keep a continuity going with that kind of legacy, but also using my own language, my own technical toolbox, and so on.
Yes, I read your text about the piece, and it mentions that you use in the beginning the leitmotif, coming from Richard Wagner as an introduction, probably also something that returns again during the entire composition. And you use the quotes from the Mozart Second Horn Concerto and Bruckner's Fourth Symphony. And in the third movement, it's kind of a mirror image, which we experience sometimes also in the Bruckner symphonies and in the more structural, type of compositions. But you seem to be a great master at innovating and at the same time sort of falling back on certain techniques from the past and using them in a very innovative way, which we support very much, and I find really very interesting.
Well, I always enjoy the idea of my forefathers and mothers. I love the idea that with luck, I become part of this fabric, and in a way, we all are part of that fabric, no matter what. Where exactly on that tapestry we are, this is something we actually don't decide ourselves. This will be decided long after we are gone. But I like the idea of building upon my great predecessors, people whose music I've been studying since I was a kid, music I have loved since those days, and kind of standing on the shoulders of those great people. And, this is how art has been working since the really medieval days, if not before. I mean, if I take an example from the really highest echelon, somebody like Michelangelo, he, as a young artist, he went to the studio of Ghirlandaio, and he was allowed to paint like little trees in the background, and then he was kind of advanced to paint shoes, and then finally, he was like a fully fledged artist, and he even paint bodies and so on. Then he was ready to fly out and start his own career. But I like this idea that we learn from the great people before us, and then take it and take it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agreed. You have a fabulous program on August 30th with Don Juan by Strauss and Sibelius' Fifth Symphony in B-flat major. What is the connection between those works with your horn concerto? Or is that just coincidence?
I would say the connecting element is the horn. It's the sound of the horn. We all know the great themes where the four horns play in unison in Don Juan, which are such dramatic, amazing moments and loved by everybody, including the horn players. And of course, in the Sibelius, it starts with the horn theme, which then becomes one of the most important building blocks of the whole symphony. And of course, the famous swan theme at the end in the finale is carried by the two pairs of horns in a sort of a pendular movement. So the horn has a central dramaturgical role in all three pieces. And, in a more detailed way, I would say that Strauss has been one of my great heroes in terms of orchestration, also in terms of harmony. He had a magical touch with harmony. And even his very simple songs sometimes had these moments when you feel he's taking your breath away by some chordal progression or a modulation or something like that. So I've tried to learn from that, of course. all my life. And Sibelius, he has this way of building a musical form. He called himself a gardener rather than a mechanic. So his idea was that he would establish the DNA, and then the themes and the music and the form and the texture and everything, harmony, including harmony, would grow out of this DNA, very much like a natural process, like a forest or a garden, which also includes trying to eradicate the borders between various formal units, like recap and starting of the development, and so those moments which are so familiar to us from the German music from the 19th century, for instance. We know exactly when this is happening, and in Beethoven we know when it happens in Brahms and so on. But in Sibelius we don't, because it's this sort of organic growth process, and quite often he does something and only later we know that we are actually in the new thing, because the old thing hasn't quite ended yet. So it's almost like a telescope, the structure. And of course, the Fifth Symphony has one of the top 5 transitions in the entire symphonic literature, in my opinion. The sort of mother of all Übergänge, which binds the first movement together with the scherzando part of the symphony. It's an overwhelming experience. It's like one of those moments when the ice breaks on a massive river or something, like inevitable, just happening, and we can't stop it. And yet it's majestic and beautiful.
That's going to be a fabulous evening. One question is, which many of our, viewers, our audience doesn't really know, or they're not aware of. How does a process take place between the soloist, now the performer Stefan Dohr, and yourself, the composer and conductor at the same time? So you will be also responsible not only for composing, but for realizing it together with the orchestra and the soloist. What is taking place now? How many meetings did you have, or how many discussions did you have? When is the first rehearsal for this concerto?
The first rehearsal is going to be around I think it's 24th or something like that, 24th of August. So it's coming up in a couple of weeks, so this has been a very close collaboration between Stefan and myself. We met in Hamburg just after the New Year's and had a working session together, and I've been sending him stuff, and he has sent me feedback and suggestions, some wishes, and so on. So it's been a very close collaboration, which is, of course, from the point of view of the composer, is wonderful, because you know that the soloist is actively part of the creative process. Of course, what happens when I conduct my own piece for the first time, or hear it for the first time, it's a very complex and sometimes bewildering situation, because I don't quite know who I am, if you know what I mean. It's like I hear the music in real time, and I'm, of course, the one controlling the real time, but there are moments, sometimes, quite often, when I feel I would like to be able to stop the world for a second. Like, please, can everybody just stop, and I have to think. And this has to do with the disconnect in composing between the inner time and the objective time. Because if I mean, every composer knows this, everyone. If you write, say, 6 pages of tutti orchestra, dense tutti orchestra music, and so you write out all the details, every instrument, everything. And to write the tutti, by the way, is difficult. You have to really think. It's not simple. And I always say that I can tell the best orchestrators from the tutti sections and not the sort of thinner sections, because that's easy or easier. But tutti is difficult. Anyway, then when this happens in real time, it might take something like 13 seconds or 15 seconds, and it just goes by like this. And you might have spent like 3 weeks on it, full working days. So there's such a disconnect, and those are the moments that are kind of difficult to cope with. My teacher, first composition teacher, Eino Juhani Rautavaara, great Finnish master who sadly is no longer with us, he always said, never go to the first rehearsal, never ever. Go to the second or third rehearsal. I said, if I don't have that luxury, sometimes, quite often I'm the one who has to be there. And he said, well, I guess you have to be sober too. I said, yes, I do. Because his idea was that if you have to go to the first rehearsal, at least have a stiff drink before, so you'll be in a sort of a calmer mood. But in my case, not even that is possible. Strauss always complained about the surprises in the first rehearsal. So he didn't go. He didn't go to the first rehearsal. He mostly went, with his operas, he went to the first stage in orchestra, or the first Hauptprobe. So he let his colleagues take care of the initial work and so on. And also, if there's something that doesn't work, I have to make a judgment call. Did I compose this wrong somehow? Did I do something that is not working as a composer? Or am I not conducting it well enough? Or is the orchestra just not ready to do it well yet? Do they need more time and more rehearsal? And sometimes it's a combination of all three. And sometimes it's simply the fact that it's new to everybody, including myself, on some level. I mean, I know what I've done, but the acoustical reality is always different. Every hall is different. Every orchestra is different. There are sometimes some resonances, internal resonances in the orchestra that take everybody by surprise. All of a sudden, some frequency gets kind of amplified and some other frequency is not audible. And these are things you cannot control, because it's like the math is massively complex, and also every day is different, every orchestra is different, and so on.
Yeah, incredibly complex process. But I have to tell you, but it's a funny story. Stefan and I were sitting together in 21 at the summer festival, at the restaurant, in the building. And I was telling him that I was going to leave in 25, and he said, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, but I know one thing. I want you to perform a new Horn Concerto." And then I asked him, "Who would you like to have?" And he said immediately Salonen. And it's a great story. I mean, it doesn't have incredible importance, but it's just very interesting, which led to this creation of the new Horn Concerto by yourself, which I'm sure will be a major work in the repertoire for decades to come, centuries, and in 100 years it will be recognized to be one of the best and maybe the toughest, most complex, and will be played in many auditions. I'll play the first one from Salonen Horn Concerto, please. Yes, starting part 30. Who knows, as now, some Brahms symphonies are used for auditions and whatever. But no doubt it's going to be an incredible work. And we at Lucerne are incredibly happy and proud to being able to really give birth to this, help to give birth to this new concerto. And it's going to be a historic moment.
I'm also very happy about how this came about, because all these projects, they need some kind of an initial impulse, and you were the initial impulse, which makes me very happy because of our friendship and also the many years of having been working together. So it just makes very much sense, and when you called me about this, I thought that's exactly the spark I needed. And I was still, the aftermath of the pandemic and so on, and the whole music business was kind of trying to figure out what to do and how to get going, and whether we would ever get going. And for me to have this kind of future to look into, or have like potentially in my future, was a very important moment, because I thought, okay, well, we're still in the game. And of course, Stefan, I've been admiring his playing for a long time, and from the podium and in the audience, and from recordings and videos and streams and so on. So all this makes a lot of sense to me, and on some level, it was meant to be.
Thank you so much, Esa-Pekka, for your precious time. I believe you're in Salzburg now, and you have other projects coming up. But August 30th will be a milestone in classical music and in music in general. And we are so much looking forward, everybody in Lucerne and beyond. And it's going on tour afterwards. So thank you so much for being a partner in this, and for your time now. And very much looking forward to your concerts here in Lucerne with the Orchestre de Paris. And see you soon.
Absolutely. Looking forward.